Imagine when the very person you trust the most becomes your greatest threat, and turn their back in the most devastating way. For 17-year-old Bernadette Walker, that nightmare became a reality. After confiding a dark secret to a close family member, she was met not with support, but with betrayal. The next day, on July 18, 2020, Bernadette vanished without a trace, leaving behind a chilling mystery that makes you question. Who can you really trust when your own family turns against you? The truth behind her disappearance is a twisted web of lies and a horrifying betrayal that will leave you in disbelief. Born on December 13, 2002, in Peterborough, Cambridgeshire, England, Bernadette Walker grew up in a chaotic household. Her mother, Sarah Louise, parted ways with Bernadette Walker's biological father after her birth, though details of their split remain scarce. Bernadette Walker was shy around strangers but bubbly and fun within her circle. She had a passion for art, especially photography, carrying her camera everywhere. After high school, she enrolled in Peterborough College to study photography, dreaming of leaving Peterborough to settle in the United States. Like many teenagers, Bernadette Walker loved social media, connecting with friends online due to her introverted nature. She also cherished knitting, a skill she learned from her grandmother, with whom she shared a close bond. Bernadette Walker was a gentle, kind, and expressive soul, chasing her dreams with a quiet determination. Bernadette's home life, however, was far from idyllic. Her mother, Sarah, moved next door to Scott Walker in 2006, raising 5 children and pregnant with her 6th. Sarah, a single mother, had 6 children, each with a different father, after a string of failed relationships. Scott, Sarah's new neighbor, was married to Jill when they met. Jill initially saw Scott as loving and thoughtful, but after he moved in with her and her 2 teenage sons, his personality shifted. He became obsessive and controlling, accusing Jill of infidelity and making frightening threats. Though he never physically abused her, his verbal cruelty left Jill feeling hopeless. Trapped in Scott's manipulative grip, Jill felt she had no choice but to accept his marriage proposal in 2005. The marriage only worsened Scott's demanding and selfish behavior, stripping away any respect for Jill. When Scott began flirting with Sarah, his new neighbor, Jill saw an escape. She packed her bags, served Scott with a protective order, and left, relieved to be free from his abuse. Scott, unfazed, dove into a whirlwind relationship with Sarah. Bernadette, just a toddler, looked up to Scott, calling him Dad. A heartbreaking detail given what would unfold. Though not legally married, Sarah changed her and her children's last names to Walker, signaling her commitment. Together, Sarah and Scott had 4 more children, bringing the total to 10 kids in a 5-bedroom home. Sarah worked in geriatrics, while Scott bounced between odd jobs, often bragging on social media about a persona that didn't match reality. Inside the Walker home, tensions simmered. Bernadette's brother, Anthony, later revealed Scott's physical and verbal abuse toward the family, his multiple affairs, and a disturbing detail. Scott installed cameras in every room, including the bathroom, claiming it was to catch Bernadette Walker hiding candy wrappers. But was there a malicious motive? By July 2020, the Walker household was a powder keg. Scott was 50, Sarah was 37 and had just given birth to a baby girl, and Bernadette was 17. Fed up with Scott's manipulation, Sarah ended their relationship and began seeing Chris O'Connell. Bizarrely, Scott still lived in the Walker home, imposing rules on Sarah's new relationship, like limiting her time at Chris's house and banning Chris from staying over. How could a man with no claim over Sarah dictate her life? On July 17, 2020, at 10 p.m., Scott drove Bernadette to his parents' house in Warrington. Bernadette, dressed in black with a blue denim jacket and thick-framed glasses, was visibly upset after Scott confiscated her phone during the ride. She went to bed at 1 a.m. and the next morning, July 18th, Scott picked her up at 10:25 a.m. to take her home, but Bernadette Walker never made it back. Scott claimed he stopped near Skater's Way for a cigarette when Bernadette bolted from the car and ran off. He said he tried to follow but couldn't catch her, so he returned home alone. When Sarah saw Scott return, exhausted and near tears, she dismissed it, indifferent to his emotions. Shockingly, Sarah didn't report Bernadette missing for 3 days, despite noticing her absence immediately. Why would a mother wait so long? What happened in those 3 days? The answers reveal a dark truth about Bernadette's desperate situation. In the years since Bernadette's disappearance, haunting details have emerged. Bernadette suffered in a toxic household with a violent father figure and an absent mother. Whether Sarah's neglect was by choice or due to the burden of raising 10 children, it was inexcusable. Worst of all, Bernadette endured unimaginable abuse at the hands of Scott, the man she called Dad, for nearly 7 years. When she mustered the courage to confide in her mother, Sarah dismissed her, calling her a liar and threatening to kill her if she told anyone else. How could a mother choose to protect an abusive man over her own daughter? Sarah's betrayal was devastating. She stood by Scott, a known manipulator with a history of affairs and abuse, instead of believing Bernadette. When Sarah finally reported Bernadette missing, her story raised red flags. She claimed Bernadette texted her, saying she was staying with her ex-boyfriend, Luke. But why hadn't Sarah or Scott contacted Luke to confirm? The police sensed something was wrong. Investigators searched Gunthorpe, Newborough, and other areas of Peterborough, but found no trace of Bernadette. Checking Scott and Sarah's phones uncovered strange activity. Scott's phone was off from 11:23 a.m. to 12:54 p.m. on July 18th after picking Bernadette up. Both Scott and Sarah repeatedly visited a lock-up garage owned by Scott's parents in Walton, including a stop by Scott on the day Bernadette vanished. Inside the garage, police found Bernadette's backpack, containing a diary with a chilling entry. Told my mom about my dad and the abuse. She called me a liar and threatened to kill me if I told the police. What kind of parent wouldn't believe their daughter? Bernadette's words radiated heartbreak. Bernadette's friends confirmed Scott's abuse. One friend, Warren Naylor, said Bernadette confided in him, but on July 19th, he received an Instagram message from Bernadette claiming she lied about the abuse. Since Scott had taken Bernadette's phone, she couldn't have sent it. Investigators discovered Sarah sent the messages from Bernadette's phone, pretending to be her daughter. The texts lacked Bernadette's personality, and the sudden retraction about Scott's abuse was suspicious. Police theorized Scott, enraged that Bernadette told Sarah about his actions, attacked and killed her during the 91 minutes his phone was off, disposing of her body far from home. His first call after turning his phone back on was to Sarah, lasting 9 minutes. Detectives believe they discussed a cover-up, with Sarah sending fake texts to make it seem Bernadette was alive. How could a mother participate in such a heartless scheme? On September 14, 2020, Scott and Sarah were arrested for murder and perverting the course of justice. Without Bernadette's body, a murder conviction seemed challenging, but the evidence was overwhelming. Bernadette's friends testified about Scott's abuse, though he denied everything, even justifying the bathroom cameras as a way to catch Bernadette hiding candy. A sickening Facebook comment by Scott under Bernadette's relationship status with Luke read, "Any boy who kisses you better have the image of me in your head," accompanied by his photo. Yet Scott maintained Bernadette simply ran away. Sarah admitted to sending fake texts but claimed ignorance of Scott's plan. The text's lack of Bernadette Walker's voice and the 3-day delay in reporting her missing exposed their lies. In 2021, Cambridge Crown Court found Scott guilty of murder, sentencing him to life in prison. His refusal to disclose Bernadette's body's location triggered Helen's Law, preventing bail without such disclosure. Sarah, lacking evidence for a murder charge, was convicted of perverting the course of justice and sentenced to 6 years. 3 years after the verdict, Bernadette's body remains unfound, and only Scott knew her fate. Police used drones, K9 units, and extensive searches but found nothing. Detective Justine Jenkins noted, "We may never know the truth about what Scott did and why, but we do know Bernadette Walker had made allegations of abuse against him." Bernadette's brother, Anthony, fights for answers, hoping to give Bernadette a proper goodbye. On December 22, 2023, Scott died in prison at 53. Taking the secret of Bernadette Walker's remains with him. His silence likely stemmed from a twisted desire to control Bernadette Walker's grieving siblings, denying them closure. Bernadette Walker, a gifted photographer who saw good in everyone, even her abuser, deserved better. Sarah, set for release in 2027, faces an uncertain future with her 9 other children. Can she redeem herself after such betrayal? It's hard to believe she can. Bernadette Walker's story is a tragic reminder that it can be too late. If you know someone in a similar situation, step up. Bernadette Walker's siblings deserve to heal, to move on from this nightmare.